Welcome everyone. Today's video is about settler colonialism. This video is brought to you by Group 4 from Ethnic Studies 108. And today we'll go over the impact of settler colonialism on health, displacement, and societal disruption. In this video we'll delve into the historical context and the ongoing consequences of these actions. We will also be talking more about diseases causing the indigenous population to go down and how their displacement led them to deserted areas, equaling poverty and social inequality. And lastly, how settler colonialism continued the cycle of violence, discrimination, and many more issues down the line. Here's the historical context of settler colonialism. Settler colonialism involves the migration of a group of people to a new land, where they establish a permanent presence, often at the expense of the indigenous population. We also learned in class how it happened to the Americas with the settling of Columbus, and later on by other settlers from all over Europe. This practice was widespread during European expansion, resulting in the colonization of vast territories across the world. In the process, indigenous communities were disposed and displaced, leading to a severe cultural disruption. The presence of settlers also impacted the health of these indigenous and enslaved groups. The health of indigenous populations has been profoundly affected by settler colonialism, with the introduction of diseases and inadequate access to health, leading to a long-lasting health crisis. High rates of infectious diseases, malnutrition, and mental health issues persisted today as a legacy of this history. According to the American Psychiatry Association in 2020, more than 1 in 5 Native Americans reported experiencing discrimination in medical encounters, while 15% avoided seeking health care for themselves or family members due to anticipated discrimination.
The impact of European diseases brought to the Americas. The list of infectious diseases that spread from the Old World to the New World is long. The major killers included smallpox, measles, whooping cough, chickenpox, bubonic plague, typhus, and malaria. It is estimated that about 90 to 95% of the indigenous population in the Americas were killed by infectious diseases during those years, following European colonization. Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't the European guns or the brutal soldiers that conquered the Native Americans, but instead it was the European diseases brought from the Old World by the European colonizers. Diseases such as tuberculosis were already present in the New World, along with diseases such as giardia, rabies, dysentery, hepatitis, herpes, pertussis, polio, and syphilis. Although the prevalence of almost all these was probably low in any given group. Smallpox was a disease brought by Europeans that was most destructive to the Native Americans, both in terms of morbidity and mortality. And the disease that was transmitted from the Old World to the New World and to the new European colonizers was syphilis. The end.
The forced displacement of indigenous communities from their ancestral lands disrupted not only their physical health but also their cultural and society well-being. One historical example of this displacement of indigenous communities was of the Trail of Tears, as the westward expansion of the United States continued. President Andrew Jackson enacted the Indian Removal Act of 1831. This resulted in the displacement of nearly 60,000 people of the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and the Seminole nations from their ancestral homeland. The loss of the land has made it difficult for natives to maintain their culture and tradition within reservations because they were placed in this kind of settlements. The loss of languages, traditions, and connection to the land have left deep scars in these communities, and this displacement have often resulted in overcrowded reservations in urban areas, leading to poverty and social inequality. Societal disruption. Settler colonialism has disrupted not only indigenous societies but also the settler societies themselves. Examples of these were the constant hunt and scalping of Native Americans and the constant raiding to their settlements. Like it has perpetually a cycle of violence, discrimination, and societal division. The imposition of settlers' norms and values has led to conflicts and societal hierarchies that persist to this day. While settler colonialism is a historical phenomenon, its impact persists in the contemporary world, and indigenous communities continue to face the challenges related to this land, rights, cultural preservation, and socioeconomic disparities. Recognizing and addressing these challenges is a vital thing for the well-being of all Americans, and achieving reconciliation and healing requires an acknowledging of the historical injustice of settler colonialism. Working towards a more just and equitable future involves respecting indigenous rights, land acknowledgement, and fostering dialogue to bridge divides and create a better society for all Americans. It's essential to highlight the incredible resilience of indigenous communities, and despite the centuries of adversity, they continue to preserve their culture, language, and tradition. Hopefully, their resiliency becomes a symbol of inspiration for all of us